But I think fitness is just, it's how you feel. How do you feel healthy? Do you feel fit? And it's not just physically, but I think I can attest to the mentally, socially, social aspect, all of those kind of, as I say, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm going back to my education days of,
there you go.
Are you meeting your needs emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of those? And are you able to do what you want to do in life? And if you're not, again, make a choice, do something different. If you don't feel good, I wasn't feeling good, go to the doctor, find out why. Gone are the days of you're this age, so you can't do this anymore. You can still do this. And so I think just being able to do what you want to do in life, and if you can't, figure out why. And
I am an everyday athlete.
I am an everyday athlete.
I am an everyday athlete.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jarrett Baston with Mark McCain, and you are listening to Everyday Athlete, a podcast devoted to bringing you the amazing stories behind the lives of day-to-day CrossFit athletes like yourself. And there she is, Joy Collins. How are you?
good.
Welcome. Joy is a longtime member. We actually, just before we started, I might cut that in there. I was going to ask Joy how she started with us, but it's actually the opposite way around, where we started with Joy, because Joy was around before we were around.
Yep.
Correct?
Yes.
Way back in 2013 would have to be prior to that, right? Because we took over in 2013.
13.
So yeah, you were there before that.
Yeah, I'm not really good at remembering like dates, so it basically when the gym started.
When the gym started. Did you start? So we've had a couple people on here that that started when it was at where's the
Silver Lake.
Silver Lake,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yes.
Was that you there under the pool or whatever it
Yes,
was?
we actually started before under the pool with like some boot camp classes outside with another trainer, and then the person who started OMF.
Can you paint a picture of what that was like under the pool? Because I've seen photos of it, but I want people like trying to understand like what this.
Well,
place
you
looked
had to
like.
walk around. You had to park over to the side. It was before. Let's see. The water park had just kind of gotten there. You walked around the back. You parked your car. You had to walk around the gravel, and then there was a literally garage-like door. Not automatic, but we had to wait for the trainer to show up and open the key and lift the garage door up. It was a cold day in December. We put it back down as quickly as possible, and literally there were like on the right side there were all the lawnmowers, paint cans, everything that literally it was a maintenance area for Silver Lake.
So when CrossFit, we say it used to be underground. It was quite literally underground for you.
Yeah, for a while I think we called ourselves. They were called the Underground Athletes.
Ooh,
It's got a nice ring to it.
I like that. I'm gonna steal that now. We're changing the name of the gym, Mark. Again.
You needed a new name the other day. Somebody said, let's think of some new names.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. The whole naming process is a pretty funny thing. If any gym owners are listening out there, it's a pretty absurd process of you just throw as many names as possible at them, and they just like, nope, that won't work. There's no rhyme or reason.
I was actually listening to a podcast the other day where a guy just finally was like, no, you're accepting this name, and borderline like took him to court over just naming his gym because they just kept saying no to like all the names of the gyms, and it was somewhere out in California. But anyway, it is kind of a ridiculous process, but
You were awkwardly holding that microphone right now.
I hate hunching, man.
Sure.
I
was like, am I close?
I'm a little bit taller than you guys, and when I
feel
sit
like
in
you
the
could
seat,
sit. All right.
I have to get down
We're recording
on the
all
mic.
this. All right. So Joy's been with us for quite some time, and it's been pretty awesome to watch you really grow as an athlete, especially coming from the days of even when we were in the car wash area. It was because we started in 2013, and then you were one of the ones that stuck around and backed us, and here you are now, and most recently kind of jumping into the world of Olympic weightlifting a little bit more, and something that is scary, but it's fun. So it's even just over the 8 weeks we've done these classes together. It's been pretty awesome to watch you, even for someone who's been doing this as long as you have, to watch you grow in that short amount of time. So is that something you've always been interested in, or is it just like you finally realized that I need a little bit of help with this?
Both, probably. I think I've always loved the barbell over cardio, even though my background was in soccer, lots of cardio, but it was never the cardio part that got me excited. It was just the competitiveness. And so anytime there's a chance to pick up a barbell, I love it. And so I think just seeing the last group go through the fundamentals, seeing some of the progress they made, I thought, you know what, I'll give it a try. And obviously Zoe really wanting to start doing that too. I thought, well, we'll just do it at the same time. And it's, anything competitive, I want to get after it.
It's been pretty awesome. I want to come back around to Zoe a little bit later because she's been pretty awesome to watch. I mean, really, just even within the last year, I guess. Has it been a year?
It was a year in January. Yeah.
Really?
Mark, you guys put her through the beginner classes in January of 2017.
It's been pretty awesome. You mentioned playing soccer. Was that your background, pretty much sports wise?
Who are you, Joy? Where do you come from?
My name is Joy Collins. I grew up in Northern Kentucky, and so never really left. I went away to college, but basically started soccer at 7 or 8 years old. Somebody down the street, they needed more players. Knew there were some girls that lived at my house. There were 5 girls in my family, and I was the right age, so signed me up for the soccer. And then basketball came around. They needed players, so I started playing basketball and soccer probably about the age 7 or 8, which was really early.
Yeah.
Way back then when I was a kid. Yeah, it's a long time ago.
The view on soccer has changed pretty considerably, even since I played. And that's not even that long ago, but it's one of those things that you've seen that the mindship. I mean, look at FC Cincinnati right now. I mean, we're literally fighting over a place to put their massive stadium, and it's been pretty awesome to watch. So you started at 7 or 8 and then just moved up. Did you play? So back then, I shouldn't say back then.
I know.
You know
it was a while ago.
Yeah. So
Stone age.
I'm not going to put a number on it.
For girls' sports, though, it was, you look at how much things have changed. But yeah, I was 7 or 8, and that was really early for girls to play sports, specifically soccer.
Yeah. What were there kind of like select leagues? Were there, because there's Premier League, there's millions of leagues now.
Well, it's funny because Kentucky was, even though we're so close to Cincinnati, Kentucky was so far behind.
Weird.
Shocker, I know, and everything. So yeah, as I grew up, obviously once I hit middle school, basically younger was just recreational.
Sure.
You just played with whoever signed up in the local little league. And then when I got into middle school, 7th grade, there was a core group of people in Northern Kentucky, my age. Somebody started a team and pretty much picked some top players from the local high schools and took us. We were literally the first team probably that went across the river, which was a huge deal.
Which is like crossing.
Select.
It's like crossing the ocean for people.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was. And so took us over there. I was 7th grade. There was 2 or 3 7th graders, and the rest were 8th graders from just the Northern Kentucky area, and started playing select. We started doing ODP, went to regional, all those kind of things for soccer. And, and then obviously during high school seasons, played against each other. But at the time when I played in high school, girls soccer was not a sanctioned sport in the state of Kentucky.
Sure.
Northern Kentucky was actually the only area that had girls soccer at all. So there was about 12 or 15 teams in Northern Kentucky that played against each other. And
That's
didn't get
super
sanctioned till my sister's, I think, 92 maybe.
Yeah.
Became an actual sanctioned sport.
And then you went on to play through college?
Yes,
correct?
I played at the University of Louisville.
Wow. What was your position?
Forward.
Forward?
Yeah.
So striker?
Scorer. I love to score.
What was your strength and conditioning regimen for soccer?
Yeah, play a lot of soccer.
Pretty
much.
I mean, is that pretty much it? I mean, how did it maybe evolve a little bit over? Obviously, whenever you're 7, you're probably not doing strength conditioning as much. But through high school, college, were you guys doing any weights?
No, and that's the crazy part. I look back now and I'm like, oh my gosh, if we would have had a training program or some kind of strength training, how much better we would have been. And we were really good then, but no, literally we would do some drills. Most of my coaches in high school, we knew more about soccer than they did because they needed someone to coach.
Yeah.
Right.
And then obviously going to Louisville, you would think Division I soccer, I was on a scholarship, those kind of things that you would show up. But when we did any weightlifting, they sent us over to the football stadium and the football strength training coach would give us a few things to do. But I don't think they were really
Well, they
familiar with women's sports and soccer in general.
and
so
they probably didn't care. If
we
I'm
would
being
do
completely
some
honest.
bench press and some back squats and
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
little
that's
bit of
what
that.
soccer
That's about
players
it.
need.
Yeah,
Bench
bench press, a lot
right.
of it. Throwing
Well-
elbows.
So, I can definitely speak to that. My freshman coach in high school was our physics teacher, and he looked like a larger, more rotund Hulk Hogan. Just the mustache and the hair and everything. So,
Oh, yes.
and it's just one of those things that, like, you're exactly right. They just need someone to fill that shoe, and that guy probably gets a little kickback for coaching it.
Yep.
And he said, "I'll do it. Sure, why
little.
not?"
Yeah, and it's sad to say, sorry to jump in, it still exists to this day with people that are just kind of filling the gap of weight training, strength and conditioning, and some, people are getting hurt in the high school weight room. People want to criticize, CrossFit, and there's some just cause of some of that in gyms across, the CrossFit world, but right in your backyard, there's probably just terrible things going on in the weight room, or like you said, just nothing at all, and people are collecting a paycheck, and because it's just ultimately they're just not knowledgeable, which that kind of goes hand in hand with passion. Like if you're passionate about something, like you said, hey, all of a sudden I caught this soccer bug, and before I knew it, I knew more than any of our coaches, because guess what, you probably were really into it, watched it on TV whenever you could, because it's not even really, probably in the 80s and 90s it wasn't really televised regularly. I mean, we're in the U.S., it's football, basketball, baseball, and mix in some hockey, and
Yeah.
Now I did see the other day that they have cornhole on ESPN now, so I'm glad they're finally
Sponsored
getting
by
some
Good.
real athletes.
Johnsonville Brust.
Do they get timeouts and stuff like if they get out of breath?
I just saw one highlight and it was just, oh my goodness.
No, they have whole tournaments now. But
anyway, sorry.
But
I
to
digress.
go back to like the lifting, we followed a BFS, Bigger, Faster, Stronger program, and it had nothing to do with any sort of it as a general sport kind of fitness program. It probably would have been fine, but again, there's no one leading you through that, and the teachers don't know, aka your coaches, your teachers don't know. You can go down that rabbit hole forever about how there's a need for it,
Well,
but no one wants to pay for it. is
Right,
really
and
what it comes down to.
they might even know the sport, but then the strength and conditioning it's a whole nother.
And I was in the same realm. I mean, I played soccer. I was a midfielder, and I ran cross country. And I'm like, why do I need to lift? It makes zero sense. But we all know now that, looking back, hindsight's always 20/20. Like, wow, if I would have had that in high school, this would have been a completely different world. So you get through college, and then what?
I finished college and moved back home and got a job teaching and tried to keep playing some soccer here and there, but
So you were going to Louisville to become a teacher and also playing soccer.
Yeah.
What's the time commitment for something like that? I mean, there's a lot of talk right now for student athletes, and I mean, because that's a whole nother part of the lifting and strength conditioning factor, right? So,
Did an agent approach you from Adidas? Be honest.
I wish. No.
it's obviously really easy to say like we should have lifted more, but when you have 3 to 4 practices a week plus all your extra schoolwork, I can imagine that is pretty taxing. And to say, hey, we're going to throw in this lifting program,
Right.
that would be a lot.
Yeah, we pretty much only practice once the season started. You practice once a day.
Yep.
And early in the season, you get down there real early and you're doing 3-a-days. It's all soccer.
Yeah.
Till school starts, 3 days, while 2-a-days, and then as soon as season starts, you're doing once a day, and then you're traveling a lot. So back in the day, though, we didn't travel like they do now. We took the white little vans.
Take a van.
They broke down occasionally.
Where,
or
what
whatever, but it was a lot of fun.
What was like the?
We weren't even in it. They didn't
We
even
didn't have a
have like
conference. Okay,
conferences.
all
Yeah,
right.
but we played UC, Xavier.
Okay, so you stayed
Yeah.
regional probably.
Yeah,
for the
we
most
did.
part.
I think farthest we went was there, Arkansas.
I thought you were about to say
And then, like,
Arizona.
West-
I was like,
I
that's
know.
pretty
Yeah,
far.
it's
No, I
pretty
always
far.
said
As far as
that.
you
No,
can go.
I was like one of the A's, Arkansas, and then like Virginia, West Virginia. That's
I
pretty
gotcha.
much it.
Yeah.
This is
You're
it.
playing like weekly kind of thing, or
Yeah.
is it multiple times a week?
Yeah, no, twice a week maybe. Then you do weekend trips and
I
do 2
gotcha.
games on the
I
weekend.
gotcha. That's tough. I mean, I played a year of college baseball, and that was one of the things. Like, it wasn't anything probably like you were experiencing at the Division I level, but it was definitely one of those things you had to try to get ahead of your studies. And if you're going away for a weekend, I mean, it's not like, all right, guys, sorry, I got to go to my room and study. It's like, no, you're hanging out with the team.
My freshman year, you had to do so many study hours a week. You actually had to go to there was an office for the athletics, academic. They had tutoring available. There was plenty available to help you if you were struggling at all, but you had to log so many hours. That's where I met some of my best friends.
Yeah.
Study hall hours while we were studying, of course. And then once your freshman year was over, depending on what your GPA was, you didn't have to do them anymore. So as long as you kept your GPA up, you didn't have to.
That makes sense. Was there any, again, I guess if there's not even really a division, I'm assuming there probably wasn't a lot of scholarships or anything like that available.
It was minimal. I got a decent scholarship back again then. State school, it's not as expensive as some of your other private, farther away schools, so to speak. Because I did look at UC. But Louisville offered me UC, which was a much better program at the time. Had agreed I could come, but they wanted me to redshirt my freshman year, and I wanted to play right away. And so I went to Louisville, and then each year, based on your academics and your performance, they offered you a little bit more. So that by the time I hit my fourth year, I was on a full academics. All of my academics were paid for, and then they actually paid for my fifth year to finish. So
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was really good.
And obviously that's
my dad was happy too.
That's being met with
right?
you busting your butt to keep your GPA up. It's not like Joy just played a bunch of soccer and was like, good job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's met by the work put behind it.
Yeah.
So becoming a teacher, I mean, so is that right out of college then? So it's been you've been being not only a teacher, but you've also been a principal, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. No longer a principal now.
Not right now. For the past 2 years, I went back to the classroom.
You say that with a pretty big sigh of relief, I feel like.
A little bit. I miss it. There's a lot I miss about it. But at the same time, my stress level is way down the last 2 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's like a big role difference? I mean, we know the role difference, but as far as like responsibility goes, you're overseeing like everything compared to just overseeing your children, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and the part that it wasn't so much the overseeing the kids and the teachers and the community and things like that. You're just getting a lot of demands from like the central office, the board office, things like that were actually, those were more of the stressful things than the day-to-day. I loved the day-to-day of being an administrator.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was a typical day like? I guess maybe contrast that a little bit. Like obviously, if you're a teacher, maybe typical is not the best word to use, but walk us through some of the contrasting. Like, all right, you're a teacher. I have to deal with XYZ parent. This kid failing or whatever it is, and then the principal is a little different role.
Yeah,
obviously.
as a principal, literally you fly by the seat of your pants a lot. You always are prepared. You have your schedule laid out, and if you can stick to your schedule 50% of the time, then that's pretty good.
Sounds like you're owning a small business.
Yeah, I mean you're putting out a lot of fires.
Yeah, it's kind of going there. Yeah.
I always say the adults are usually the problem. It's not the kids. It was always, you dealt with more adult issues as an administrator than you did with kid issues. But if a teacher calls and needs your assistance for something, you're going to go there right away and help them with whatever they need. But you also have a lot of paperwork, a lot of meetings, school meetings, teacher meetings, after school activities in the evening. So the time frame is trying to fit in your workouts and things or family time is a lot more difficult as opposed to being a teacher now. I don't want to say I clock in, clock out, but I've gotten pretty good at being able to get things done during the school day, get to school at a certain time, get as much done as I can before the kids come in, get things done on your planning. Yeah, and then being able to leave right at 4 o'clock and then not have to, I don't bring that stress home with me like I used to. You're always, as an administrator, you're always checking your email and you're always worried the phone's going to ring that, the fire alarm went off at the school and or the security alarm, you got to run down at 9 o'clock at night and reset it or something. So now it's that I get to leave and I kind of leave everything there, and including the worries and the stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've kind of taught through, has it always been in North Kentucky?
Yes.
Yeah. Because you were, where all have you taught at?
Well, I was 21 years in Covington, 9 at one of the elementary schools, and then 12 at John G. as the assistant and then principal, and then just left about 2 years ago and moved over into Kenton County, which is where I live.
Yeah.
Which Covington's an independent school district versus the county school.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff with that. It's like a completely different world.
It is.
And obviously there's a lot of politics going on with that. We'll avoid those as much as possible for your sake and for everyone, can see your eyes fuming from the ears.
What are your thoughts on the governor?
Spill it. Joy flipped the table over mid-conversation.
The fifth.
Yeah, there you go. So now sounds like you're basically in a groove. You're in a rhythm of kind of being able to, like you said, get through your day. And now, how is fitness starting to play a little bit more? Because I feel like for a time you were very frazzled. You were very like, I can get here when I can get here. Now you are much more consistent. Is that, because I feel like, yes, you're going to miss certain things about being a principal and having the responsibility, but there has to be something said about being able to, like you said, leave everything at the door and then come here, do your thing, and have family time and all that kind of good stuff. Is that something you were searching for when you left being a principal, or is it like, I just can't be a principal anymore?
No, I think a part of it was my health. I don't want to say I've never
Your
had
mental health?
bad health, mental health,
Yeah.
but my mental health was affecting my physical health.
Sure.
I had put on some weight. I was tired all the time. You go to the doctor and you're like, I'm tired. Why am I tired? And they're like, well, I don't know, and you're running all the, and had some goofy little things. Everybody in this area, vitamin D, sleeping problems. And basically about 2 years ago, was at the doctor and they're like, your cortisol levels are high. We need to check. Is something wrong? Nothing was wrong, but my cortisol levels are high. Well, guess what? That's from stress.
Yeah.
So it was one of those that I was like, ooh, this is kind of like, an answer from above there telling me,
Right.
you got to reevaluate your life of, I really did love what I did, but I was like, the stress is not doing
Right.
well on my physical self. And that was when I was like, you know what? I actually did look for other administrative jobs and couldn't find. I knew I needed to leave the situation I was in. It was actually funny. I went through one of the journeys at Crossroads, and that was my big nugget
yeah,
kind of
I
thing
remember
of,
that.
is this the right thing for me? Am I where I'm supposed to be? And so got to the point where I had a couple interviews for other administrative jobs and just kept getting turned down, and got turned down in July on one. And I looked at Jeremy and said, I think I just need to go back to the classroom. I can't go back to where I'm at. And I just, looked for a job as a teacher and found one that's like 3 minutes from my house. And now my cortisol levels are back
gonna
down.
say, back to
Shocker.
that.
6 months later, they're back to normal.
It's so strange, because we, in this society, just in general, everyone wants these instant kind of results. Like, they're always wanting, results fast. And sometimes it's not always, what I want to say, visible.
Mm-hmm.
So you had if it wasn't brought to light to you on that doctor's checkup, like, hey, your cortisol levels are high, you had that defining moment to kind of reassess your situation, like, all right, and you already knew, like, all right, something's a little off,
Yeah.
like, so on and so forth. And then but so many people, they never want to acknowledge that, like, hey, something is wrong here, like I'm putting on weight, or I'm more stressed,
yeah.
or I'm not sleeping, or and you at least you had the wherewithal to seek out some help and like get a doctor's visit. And now you know what, I do remember you going through that journey. I believe we went through it together. And it is things like that where at the beginning of the journey you're asked, like, what is your heading? And so many people in life just don't have a heading. And it's like, what are we doing here? I had a moment with that. I mean, it was several years ago where this place wasn't doing the greatest, and we swoop in, and then we had a couple little snafus with a couple different things, and I was very pessimistic and so on and so forth, and then made some changes in my life, and all of a sudden I'm a more positive person, and I have a heck of a lot more respect for small business owners and just people in general that deal with kids. And what grade do you teach again?
First grade.
I mean, gee, bless you.
6 and 7-year-olds.
Just bless you. And my wife teaches middle school, and it's like, anyway, everyone has their own thing, and it's up to them to adjust a header, to understand when something's not going right, and ultimately just be a positive or negative. It's a choice. It is a simple choice. Like this cup is either always half full or it's always half empty. And for me personally, it's just like auditing the people that you're around too, because when you get in there's people that gossip nonstop, and it's like, oh my goodness, like stop.
I know.
Please change your header.
Yep.
Like, this isn't the most important thing in the world. But anyway, I know I'm going a little tangent, but I just wanted to commend you for making that a defining moment when a lot of people might just brush it to the side. Like, well, I need this job because it might pay more or whatever it is. No, you took your health as a more valuable asset.
And I think part of it too was I got to this point where I was like, this is my choice. I'm doing, it's a
100%.
choice. And so, whether it's your happiness or your health or what, you have to decide, and I'm in charge of my happiness. I can't worry about what other people are doing. I definitely felt guilty. I felt like, I had a good thing going down there and the school was going in the right direction. But it was like, finally, for once, I was like, I've got to put myself first and my family first and, choose happiness over.
And here's the thing too, right? Wherever we're at in life, it is because of the choices we made. Sure, there's some bad luck along the way for some people, and sure, there's some really good luck for people. We can't choose the family we're born into. It's like, oh, here I am. All right, I'm poor. All right, I'm rich. Whatever it is, whatever economical situation you're born into, guess what? Play the hand. That's the hand you're dealt. Deal with it. And guess what? If you're positive, it'll probably work out a lot better than if you're negative. And we have traits that are good and bad from both of our parents, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, sitting here, we are all a collection of our choices. So if you just don't want to be a principal, guess what? You could still be a principal.
Right.
Absolutely. But guess what? You now know the repercussions of, I think it was the poet Notorious B.I.G. that said, "More money, more problems." Is that? Or is that Sean Puffy?
Actually, speaking of that, you guys just recently downsized your home.
Yes.
Correct. And I feel like there's a tying moment between all of this to that. Right, the more is not always better kind of thing, right? So what kind of led up to you deciding that like we don't need this?
We had this beautiful house we built. Tyson. I was pregnant with Tyson, so we had been there about 10 years, and we weren't going in rooms, and we weren't, we didn't even go in them to dust them. We put things in them, and the basement was like, we don't even need to finish the basement because we don't need it because we had all this space. Loved the neighborhood. It was great, but it was one of those like, do we want to be house poor, so to speak, or do we want to live life? And so we're still grappling with that. I think, downsizing, we're all together now a lot more. And I love that, actually. I love that there's nights where we're all in the family room together watching something on TV because they don't have a playroom anymore or things like that. And so I think just trying to, downsize and be simplistic, and definitely is a hurdle I'm still trying to overcome because of keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing of what do you have.
Everyone chases
it
that
is hard.
status.
There's a mental part to that,
and I'm still working on that.
I always contribute it. If you ever watch Stay at Home Sick and watch The Price is Right, play hooky and eat grilled cheese and watch Price is Right,
Sound like you've done that before.
Yeah, cut the corners off.
But they always get to the showcase, right? And it's like the first one will be like a trip to Rome, a trip to Spain, a trip to Italy, like all these different places, and then they're like, I'm gonna pass. And then the next showcase is like a Hyundai Elantra. Yes, it's like a $14,000 car, or actually speaking, probably over like $20,000 to travel, and then a lifetime of memories. And it's like people always go for that material thing when you cannot replace that. Kind of those experiences. You cannot replace it for anything. And
to further my point I just made, is the showcase, the first person, it is their choice.
Yep.
And that's a microcosm of just, it's like you chose to build that house.
Yeah.
So now you either got to choose to
stay there,
you still had a choice. Even when you built your house, I feel like so many people get trapped.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's
it's just like, and there's constantly studies out there that prove this theory, right? It's like you get to a certain level of income and money can no longer buy happiness, but it can buy more things. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, I have this watch, I have this car, I can never go back. And I will say,
now we need a place to store it. And that's why I have a bigger house.
It's humility though, right? And it's through your story that you're talking through here. And I'll just a little bit, whenever I went from a brand new car to a very used car, that is green and the paint's all falling off of it.
That's a used car out there?
Yeah, believe it or not, I say it's a Bentley. It's like, anyway, I won't get into that. But what I'm saying, it was very humbling. It was very humbling. I mean, I literally, like, I miss my Bluetooth. I miss my backup camera. Sure. Do I need those things? Absolutely not. Plug in my headphones, turn my head around, and actually look where I'm going. So anyway, but I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down here. It's just like, it's a choice. Mm-hmm. You can choose to come into the gym, work out. You can choose to eat, whatever you want to eat. And through those, there's a lot of discipline involved too. If you want to be a successful person, you'll be hard pressed to meet a successful person in life that's not disciplined. Joy Collins, right here, is a very successful in your own right, and you just exemplify what you were talking about through your college. Hey, guess what? I was disciplined, and I played soccer, and I studied. I didn't go out and party every night. It was probably easy to do that at the University of Louisville. You guys are basically on the Churchill Downs Kentucky Derby, Anyway, but you had that discipline, and guess what? It paid off because you got a full ride scholarship. That's fantastic.
I agree. I 100% agree. So it's obvious that when we talked about downsizing, you're doing it to essentially put your family first in the direction you think your family should go. If you don't see your kids, there's probably a reason why you're not seeing your kids. And I feel like, again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel like that was part of it.
Yeah.
So obviously you're very family centered, and we've seen that here. And a very active family for that, right? You're always on the go. I mean, you guys are involved in a lot of different things. Has that just always been your family, or has it been something you guys grown into?
I think Jeremy and I both came from families who were very family oriented to begin with. We were both very fortunate. Both of our parents, both of his parents were together until his dad passed away. My parents were together. So we both came up in very strong religious families. But sports was the center of those. And I think that's what kind of brought us together too. But yeah, sports from the get-go, it was, it wasn't a choice that Tyson was going to play baseball. Soccer maybe, because he's a boy, and,
sure. But
for Zoe, it was like, well, you're going to play soccer. And I've had to have some step back moments of, if she doesn't really want to play soccer, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And because how many parents out there are living their dream through their children? And even if my dream did come true, or if I did do what I wanted to do, you still want the best for your own child. So it's very hard to take a step back. But yeah, we go, thank goodness we only have 2 kids, I say. We stopped after 2 because, we're running from, baseball to soccer.
You guys are always on the go. Yeah.
So.
And so what do you, maybe just speak on that just a little bit more to maybe almost advice. What do you do when you get to those situations where you're like, I don't know if she wants to do this? Because there's a lot of that. There's a lot of like, where do you push? Where do you step back? Where do you give them a little leeway when you put your foot down and say, you need to do this because I know it's good for you, versus you just don't want to do this? Yeah,
and I had a conversation with somebody the other day just about kids of, I think playing team sports is very valuable. The fitness, the athletic, just being active. But I think being on teams and sports, you learn a lot from working on a team. You have to sacrifice, you have to work together, you have to, cooperate, all of those kind of things.
It's not all about you.
Yeah,
right?
It's team, but you're putting your team ahead of you, which is hard to, as a teenager or whatever to think. I think the big thing is we've had this moment before, I don't want to play soccer, or I do want to play soccer, and it's okay, that's fine, but you need to think about this. Then if you step away from soccer, are you going to want to pick it back up in a couple years? Sure. If you do, you're probably going to be behind, or do you want to do this later on? I think a lot of times when they're impulsive, kids are impulsive anyway, so are adults, and they make a decision very quickly. And so just trying to talk them through it and saying, okay, if that's what you want to do, this is what the repercussions are going to be down the road. There might be some good consequences. You might have more time.
If that's your choice.
If that's your choice, exactly. And so, she's doing that right now. She's loving coming to the gym. And there's nights where she'll go, I don't want to go to soccer. I want to go to the gym. And I'm like, no, you're on a team and you committed. So a lot of it too is once she makes that commitment that she's going to stick it out through the remainder of the season. And when the season's over, we'll discuss it and we'll move forward from there. So just...
I'm glad, because you're making all my segues for me.
Great.
So when you look at that exactly what you just said there. Like you're making these commitments. One of the things that we try and instill here is values that spread outside of the gym. It's obvious you already do that, but are there things that you find carry over from CrossFit into your daily life? So I'll give an example, because we've given it here a bunch of times on the podcast, and that's just general problem solving. A daunting workout, something even like today, it takes some people 40 minutes for this workout. We don't do that many long workouts like this, but we're gearing up for Murph, and it's one of those things where you look at that workout and you might go, there's no way I can do this. And then little by little, you get through it. And then by the end of it, you say, oh, wow, that wasn't as bad as I thought. Now, if you carry that over into your daily life and you get a flat tire on the highway, there's going to be some people throw up their hands and say, I don't know what I'm doing. My day is ruined. There's other people that are going to get the spare tire out, jack it up, put the spare tire on, and then drive off.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things I don't know if you've seen with just either students or your kids in general, that stuff that you can carry over outside of the gym from here.
Yeah, I think it actually, when I've heard that question on one of the other podcasts that I listened to.
Oh, wow.
And
she doesn't watch
I'm the
them,
number 4th person, right?
She's paid to say that.
It goes both ways, really. I think there's definitely a lot that you come in here and you can leave everything at the door and just go as hard as you can. And, and then you leave and you think, if I just did that, I can surely go out and, handle this. But then I think sometimes there's things in the world that happen to you and you're like, if I could handle that, workouts, like coming to the gym, CrossFit's nothing compared to what some people and what all of us do in our daily lives and the trials that we've had to go through. And so I think it kind of goes both ways. The big one for me is having a growth mindset. I read that book years ago. Great book. If you haven't read it, it's actually not too academic-y kind of thing. Each chapter talks about a different part of your life, but just having that mindset that, am I here to be, and you hear people say, oh, better than yesterday, or I'm just trying to be the best version of myself. And I'm always like, oh, those are just so cliche, but it's about coming in and, am I doing the best I can? What is my goal? Am I trying to get better? Am I just coming in to put in the work? Am I just showing up to work to get a paycheck? Or am I really trying to do the best that I can to be better every single day and to grow? And that's something I think with Zoe and my own family is just, what is your purpose? Are you trying to get better at, and are you getting better? That helps a lot too with comparing yourself to other people, as if you can just come in and say, well, last week I did this, or, and now 3 months later I can do this. So
it lessens the impact of other people on you.
Definitely.
And you can be impacted in a good way by other people, but unfortunately I feel like it's a lot of times it's in a negative way. And if you can circumvent people from doing that, you can fast track them to a goal, or any goal really. Because we see it all the time where it's like the leaderboard is the easiest example.
Yeah.
Like so-and-so did this. I'm like, it doesn't matter at all. And the example is just in our little world, you're, as a male, it's like, all right, would I compare myself to Matt Frazier? Absolutely not. Everyone would know that's idiotic. But then why would I compare myself to someone else in the gym? If you're not going to compare yourself to the absolute best and feel quote bad about it, then why do you feel bad about someone at your own gym? It doesn't make any sense.
I think that gets me sometimes, I'm not going to lie, because I have a really just a competitive background. I've always been that way. Once I left college soccer, it was like I was like, well, what am I going to do now? I actually started running. I actually ran marathons. I ran 5Ks because I was like, okay,
I'm so sorry.
I know. I don't. It's just a dark hole. But it was one of those where I was like, I needed to find something to be competitive, and that was something I found. And so then kind of after that, I was like, okay, I'm done with that. And then I think that's kind of where I started finding the CrossFit. But it's very hard, especially a little bit older you get, you start thinking, I can hang with these 20-year-olds. And then I'm like, what am I thinking? I got,
Well, I think there can be good to it, right? If you can use it as motivation, like if you can internalize it and just really come to grips with like, hey, I think it comes down to maximizing your own potential, right? And if I can maximize my potential through CrossFit, understanding like, hey, this is where I'm at. I had a conversation with two guys earlier. We're having deadlifts today, 315, and was it for the ladies? 215. Anyway, it's a pretty heavy deadlift, and there's some running involved. And the one guy's just like, man, I haven't run. Obviously it's kind of the first nice day of spring.
It's only April 12th.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly.
Probably the
So
last one,
when
too.
you contrast those are probably the two polar opposites, right? You just talked about running the marathon, and that's obviously aerobic kind of conditioning based movement. And then you look at deadlift, right? So when we're talking about potential, the one guy was like, I'm not in running shape. And I was like, well, the good news is if you were to consistently run and push your conditioning for the next about 4 to 6 weeks, he was kind of being negative about it, like, I'm just not in running shape. I said, good news is you're about 4 to 6 weeks, you'll be in pretty good running shape, probably great running shape for CrossFit standards, seeing as that we probably run about 400 meters at a time, 800 meters, and then obviously we have the Murph. I said, the great news is you can pick up 315 pounds. That if you were, let's just say, a 135 deadlift, it would have took me a couple years to get you to the strength. So it's just that perspective. So it's in the moment. It's like you can choose to be negative. I'm not in running shape. And then when you're comparing yourself to people, it's like, hey, I have a running background. Okay, well there you go. Right. What's your potential?
Right.
So like when you look at Matt Frazier, just use him as an example. He was a USA level, a national level weightlifter, and then he had Olympian parents. He has good genetics. He's 5'7", 190. He's so many people, and like you mentioned the age thing. It's like he's 25 years old, like all these things, and you're gonna beat yourself up because you're not as good as Matt Frazier. Like like Jared was saying there, like how ridiculous does it sound? But you can harness that because guess what? That is possible. It is possible to back squat 500 pounds and run a 5-minute mile. Wow, that's incredible. It's cool to see like what's possible, but you have to internalize and say like, hey, you know what? Every day that I go teach my first graders, I'm going to give them my best shot. And just because such and such teacher out here got the award over me, she had this good idea, I'm going to take that from her. And maybe that'll drive me a little bit better to prepare more or try different ideas.
And treat CrossFit is what you want. Now, if it's your sport, okay, that's one thing. But for a lot of people, it's a fitness regimen.
Stress relief.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you do things. You do this to benefit you in whatever way. So, in part of that, like Mark touched on a little bit, and that's your genetic potential is might be limited, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you are 6'5", deadlifts like today, I'll be real tough. Like, that's the one of the great things and also one of the things about CrossFit that can, depending how you look at it, might be a negative for some people because it's a blanket program. We're doing a lot of different things, so if you beat yourself up because you didn't do well today, well, again, if you're pulling an extra 1.5 feet than someone who's 5'7", it's going to be a little bit different workout.
I think that's the part that I love about it is because it is so the varied part is that you can come in one day and be like, dang, I'm good. And then the next day you're like, dang, I suck. Yeah. And it just goes. And I think as long as you don't let that get in your head of, hey, and you see that you're either you're PRing or you're making progress or, hey, maybe I did keep up with that 25-year-old today. Or,
and use that as a motivator.
There's days that I use, there's people in the gym. I think everyone has that person in the gym that they're like, they're just a little ahead of me and I'm trying to chase them. And I'm like, hey, if they're 10 years younger than me, then I'm like, all right, if I can keep up. Or shoot, there's some people that are older than me and I'm like, I want to be able to lift like that. Or, and I think using that, and women especially using that as a motivation to encourage each other too. When I see new people coming in and, I'm like, they're like, oh, you can, I'm like, oh, I've been doing this for years. You're doing great. You've only been doing it for 3 or 4 months,
and I want to thank everyone, especially the females in our gym, because
we do have good females.
We have wonderful, and specifically by including other females. Like I can't tell you, and I don't know why, because I'm not one. I can't speak on it, but it's like I don't know what it is about.
I'm not checking right now.
Yeah, I can't speak on it because I don't know what it is about being negative towards other people like that. You see it a lot with females, and I really don't know why. So thank you to all of our women who I watch you go over and introduce yourself and welcome someone in, and just foster a community of positivity, because that's one of the things that sets us apart, is just fostering just a family atmosphere.
And you look at a header, right? We mentioned that word a couple times earlier. Our header is not to build a community of CrossFit Games athletes.
Was that Deuce Gym?
Yeah.
We've sent 0 athletes to the CrossFit Games.
You know, and that shouldn't define us. You know, there's so many gyms out there that, and just so like you should absolutely receive a lot of credit if you go to the regionals or go to the CrossFit Games or win events. Absolutely, I'm not taking any way. I'm not saying anything negative about that, but I'm just saying for our personal triumph strength conditioning mission, our header is to help as many people find health through our methodology of fitness as possible. It's not, if a guy or girl comes in and they're like, I want to go to CrossFit Games, and they have a lot of potential, we're not going to tell them to get lost, but at the same time, we're going to be like, look, this is our program. We offer a whiteboard class, and we offer a barbell program, and we obviously do smell things, et cetera, et cetera. It's not going to be, we're going to put you on this pedestal and, old Joe over there, he's training for a CrossFit game, so just make sure we get the velvet rope off and put it around him. And
That's his bar.
Just he, I know I'm trying to go over announcements right now, but he's doing grace, and he needs the music up.
Right.
So what's your header? Like as a gym, as a school, as a wherever you're involved in, like, anyway, it's just we're trying to build a brand, and I don't want our brand to reflect negativity. I don't want our brand to reflect we're putting people above. Look, if you win a workout, hell yeah, let's ring the PR bell. Let's slap some high fives. But guess what? Don't put your equipment away until last person's done.
Yep.
Because we're a community here. We're not about individuals.
I agree. So just specifically speaking on Zoe, because she's here all the time, and she's obviously growing into a pretty awesome athlete. She is.
She is. I love you, Joy. I love you.
Network. I love you too.
And I almost saw Zoe smile last night. It was so amazing.
She did. She let one slip.
It was awesome.
She's been letting them slip a little bit later.
She's getting strong.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, she's right at that age too, where she's very nervous and shy, and it's pretty cool to see her come into her own, and doing it through fitness. She had a pretty awesome. What did she do? She did the Open and something else, or was it
No,
different?
she's too young for the actual CrossFit Open. She did something called, we found it, it's through the Garage Games, which is just some kind of, I don't know.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big
They
deal.
have competitions and things, and somehow it popped up. I saw it, and it said the Garage Games Junior Open. So basically, and it was open up till kids that were up to 16 and 17, if they wanted to do that instead. But it also had a youth division, 7 to 9, 10 to 12. So I looked into it, and I was like, you know what? It mimics the CrossFit Open, and I thought her workouts would be completely different. So each week they pretty much, it was same format. They'd announce it on Friday by noon. So basically what they did was
Just took some time.
they took Thursday night, saw what the workout was, and then they adapted it. So hers were very similar. Some weeks they were exactly the same as the 13, 14-year-old girls, or 14, 15. And then she would, come in and either do it Friday or on the weekend, or she had a little bit longer to do it.
How'd she do?
She actually ended up finishing, there were 77 girls signed up. And the cool part was when you look at the leaderboard, they had a flag by your name, and it was your country's flag. Because it was it was open worldwide. So
Cool.
she's looking and she's like, there's one from this country. And I'm like, yeah, it's a worldwide competition. So 10 to 12-year-old female, she finished, out of 77, she finished 36th.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
On the last workout, the
Thruster.
thruster pull-ups, she was 17th or 18th.
Wow.
Yeah, and she had the flu in the middle of it.
Yeah,
the
she
one
did.
you judged.
She did.
I was at the 18.2 and 2A, where she was really mad because she didn't get to do the max clean.
Yeah.
She had literally been out of school for 4 days, and that was the first day back to school, and she had to do the workout that Wednesday night. So she didn't do as well, but just a lot of fun. She got excited when it would come out, and she'd come in. She had the little breakdowns on the handstand push-ups. She had to do handstand push-ups. She got her first one.
Yeah,
she got
that's
one.
huge.
But it's the same thing as the grown-ups. You put yourself out there. You're like, I'm going to try. If I spend 10 minutes trying and I get one, then it's more than I had before. So
Well, and what's been really cool is seeing her just create body awareness. Because again, just at young ages, it's so hard to tell a kid to move his right arm and him or her to actually move their right arm. I don't know.
It's like, that's your foot.
Yeah,
Stop.
exactly. So, and just I want to say within probably the last 6 months or so, really seeing an uptick in that.
I've 100%.
And just like quietly, very quietly, because that's
Yeah.
who she is. She's just creeping along, and all of a sudden, she's like,
Yeah.
she's going to be surpassing
And-
people
and
as
that-
far as where she's at with her age.
And
Yeah.
her mannerisms are just becoming so acceptable, though, as far as like just everyone gets it. Like at first you're like, what's wrong with her? As far as just like maybe she's
Yeah.
not having a good day or
She
whatever.
mad at us?
Yeah.
No.
But and you're right there with her every time, and it's so great because you're so cheery and smiling and we know that she's having a good time. Like she
Yeah.
wouldn't come back.
Oh, she loves it. I'm telling
she
you,
wouldn't come
she's-
back if she wasn't having a good time, and it's been fun to watch her just develop as a person. And we had another guy here that started in high school, and Jordan, and since has found another gym, but he still stays in touch. Just an awesome kid, and kind of reminds me a little bit of I see a little crossover there, and he was kind of the same
Yep,
way at
I remember
first,
that
and then,
too. Oh,
then
wow, that
he's
he-
just like Mr. Popular, like slapping high fives with everyone.
He's so confident.
And that day will come for her. I know it will. And regardless, if when it manifests is it's irrelevant. But what's really cool is just to see her gain the confidence.
Yeah, and I think, anyone, obviously I'm in education, but, and Lauren is too, with middle school. Middle school's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard for
Oh, yeah.
everybody.
Sure.
What is the hardest age to teach?
I think middle school would be the hardest. I just think they're between hormones going on and just clicks and just social media.
Some of the
It's-
stories.
Smelly kids.
yeah, all of it. It's such a hard time for kids anyway. And so, I think back as a kid too, like, I don't really want to remember middle school. It was awkward. Things are changing, all that
Braces
good stuff.
and all that stuff. And
Acne, glasses, all of it. So, and you're trying to figure out who you are and who your friends are and things like that. And I think, doing CrossFit for her, and I've seen this over the year and a half because she's a handful sometimes, and she's
can't even
become
imagine that.
she's definitely more confident. She's outside of the house and here. You can see that she's more confident in herself and more independent, so to speak. And I'm sure that would happen anyway as she grows. But I feel like CrossFit's giving her like that. I can conquer what I can do what I want to do. And
I think
if this
it
is
also
something I
has,
want to do, then
it also has
I
to
love
do with engaging with people who are older than her. Like I just remember being her age and thinking all adults were not scary, but just like, I don't want
Yeah.
to talk to you, like go away, and then
Right.
see her like, she'll reluctantly give me a high five, but she'll give me a high five,
And
like,
you guys have been great. Like I mean, I couldn't ask for a better place to, you guys know exactly when to say something to her or joke with her and how to back off. Because if you just kept at it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
everyone that quiet sense of, hey Zoe, and just walk away from her. And I can tell you she's beaming inside, even if she's not smiling. Because last night, even this morning, as soon as she got up, of course, she's a teenager, phone, we're on the way to school, she goes, Jarrett put my lift on Instagram last night. I know, I saw it. She goes, but that wasn't my PR. I go, I'll ask him for it today. Just, you can tell because I see it outside of the gym that she does love coming here because she is, Mom, are we going tomorrow? What time? I'm like, well, you have soccer. Well, not till this time. Can we go before soccer? And it's really neat I told her the neat part is seeing that transfer over into sports. And after her first game, another parent I'm friends with and sees that she knows that she's doing CrossFit said, I think we need to get all the girls in CrossFit because Zoe's faster and she's stronger and she's,
weird.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you
know?
noticed the difference on the soccer field.
Well,
and-
not this past weekend. It was
Yeah.
not a good tournament, but her first game definitely. Like I was like, Zoe, you looked a lot faster, and I said, she goes, I felt stronger, and I said, and you should. You can back, all the different things that we've done, but.
And obviously, we're not doing sport-specific stuff. It's just obviously
Right.
general physical preparedness for the most part. But strength and soccer, I've never played, but it's you can get physical.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're fighting off defenders or whatever positions he's playing. But we're not necessarily working on leg kicks.
Right. She's
per
not
se,
getting knocked
but-
off the ball. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. So but you have more stability, more
Right.
balance, so on and so forth.
I wish you build your upper body. If you get into a corner with somebody, if you can
Yeah.
not push somebody up, but put
Yeah.
a shoulder into somebody, you're going to win that ball.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference.
One thing I'm hearing there as you're doing a great job of talking about that, I feel like everyone wants a workout partner, and to find one in your daughter, was that like a surprise? like now you're like all of a sudden she's almost holding you accountable,
Yeah.
100%
Yeah.
to like, hey mom,
And
what,
she'll
we going
always-
to the gym tonight?
It's fun. Yeah, it's actually probably the reason I've been coming even more over the past year or so. Like I'm up
great.
to 4, 5 or 6 days a
Yeah,
week now
you're
because
crushing
she's
it.
constantly wanting to come, and I'm like, so mom's body needs a rest day today.
I know,
Like,
recovery.
I need the rest day now, especially with us doing the barbell. I was like,
You're gonna
wow,
understand
this is
this
pretty rough.
Yeah, you'll understand this in a couple decades.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Doesn't
so
make
it's
sense.
and I have to tell her too, like you have soccer games. You're not coming on a day you have a game. Practice. You can come work out, and as long as you're still going to practice and putting in 110%, kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, she even told me the other night after Tuesday's workout, she's like, Mom, your double unders looked really good. I was like,
Oh,
thanks. So,
that's amazing.
I'm like, I didn't even know she's like, you look like you're doing really good. I'm like, yeah.
And then that's
So
that's
it's-
another layer to it, right?
Oh,
Now
yeah.
you have this other like kind of
Yeah.
like you got your little
A good, strong relationship.
exactly, but
I
you
do
have
have-
something else to talk about.
Yeah, and I
You
have
know?
to be really careful because it is one of those where, the hovering parent, the helicopter mom, Chris will tell me all the time, Joy, go away. Because there are times where she's doing something and I want to be like, well, and I'm like, Chris is like, I'm the coach. Or last night I was like, Jared's giving her feedback on her lift and I'm going,
Yeah.
bite your tongue, because you do want to jump in
Sure,
and I have to be like,
sure.
nope, just let it go and, go from there.
You also did a pretty good job too, because I mean, she is still shy and timid, and you kind of gave me the nod, like, oh, because she's not. Everybody else there, I was gonna say, because I'm watching 6 people at one
Yeah.
time, and they're gonna go, hey, can you watch this real quick? She's not gonna say that.
She just kinda stands.
she's like, she's waiting her patiently, politely waiting her turn, and I'm telling other people like, hold on, I'm gonna watch that, So it's been really, really cool to watch. And
I joke with Tyson. I said, when are you going to come?
Maybe him and Jeremy start.
Yeah. Oh, hey, you're supposed to be working
I
on
know.
that.
I'm trying.
Throw that in there on the podcast so you
Yeah.
make him listen.
call him out.
Yeah, there you go.
He's coaching right now, so
Okay.
Get through baseball
he's a
season.
busy guy.
The never-ending baseball season.
yeah.
We always do end, if you've listened to these, you already have an answer. You know what's coming.
I'm working on it.
What is your definition of fitness, Joy?
It is one. I was like, oh. I've listened to a lot of people's. Everyone's kind of starting to come around to the same thing. But I think fitness is just, it's how you feel. How do you feel healthy? Do you feel fit? And it's not just physically, but I think I can attest to the mentally, socially, social aspect. All of those kind of, as I say, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm going back to my education days of,
There you go.
are you meeting your needs emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of those, and are you able to do what you want to do in life? And if you're not, again, make a choice, do something different. If you don't feel good, I wasn't feeling good, go to the doctor, find out why. Gone are the days of you're this age, so you can't do this anymore. You can still do this. And so I think just being able to do what you want to do in life, and if you can't, figure out why and do something about it.
That's
It's
good.
a metaphorical,
Oh.
That's
I got the
metaphorical-
good.
metaphorical
Good.
mic drop on that
Good,
one.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's well said, Joy, and I obviously really appreciate you sharing with us and coming on the podcast.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you very much,
Thanks
Joy.
for listening.
Spring
too.
break.
And thank you all for listening to Everyday Athlete. Join us next week as we dive deep into the lives of those who make us great. Thanks again.